800-457-3280. You may be entitled to substantial compensation. The consultation is free, and you'll pay nothing unless there is a recovery in your favor. If you or a loved one used talcum baby powder-based products before being diagnosed with or died from ovarian cancer, call Talcum Baby Powder Helpline today. 800-457-3280. 800-457-3280. 800-457-3280.
Zika is still a threat, and its effect on an unborn child can be devastating. To prevent Zika, use insect repellent and condoms and dump standing water. Let's keep stopping Zika. Visit cdc.gov/prevent Zika. This message from the Center for Control and Prevention.
It should be on right now.
All right, yeah, I'll pop it in.
Target is streamlining its stores to better handle the e-commerce boom. As part of a sweeping overhaul of its operations, the retailer plans to revamp more than 1,000 locations by the end of 2020. The plan is to make smaller stores and cater the stores.
Have you heard of Josh Ennis promo? You can say just about anything you want.
Good point.
Yeah, you're right.
Fair point.
Good point. Good
distribution centers. A new restock program rolls out nationwide next year, letting customers have essentials like toothpaste.
Chris Gordy had less on this morning.
A report says those smartwatches designed for child safety could be having
I'm sure he was riveting.
Consumer protection company Norwegian Consumer Council says
he's on
hackers
board
could
with me
take
on that.
control of the apps and give them access to children's real-time location.
I'm honestly not.
Monday.
I thought about that.
Without the parents'
like when Jeff's gone, I could get him on.
Data to servers without any encryption in place. You can now give your car that
Your
entrepreneurial smell.
No, Derry is coming in
Elon
Monday.
Musk air freshener smells quite leathery.
Jesus, thanks for the heads up.
This is John Green, and if your teeth are
Dave, you're a gem.
Or smoking,
a really ugly gem, but a good one.
I mean, what?
Really ugly gem, but hey, we love you nonetheless. And whatever you said, I can't hear because I got my headphone jack.
No hootie and the blowfish for you.
Yeah, no hootie for you.
Oh, come on, man. Play hootie. Don't play Darius today.
0969. Your bright white smile will have your friends talking about how great you look.
Teach you to mess with me.
800-679.
All right, here we go.
69. That's 1-800-679-0969.
Dunc and Holder on a Friday, October 20th. All I know is that Clyde and Jeff are wondering what on planet Earth is going on around Convention Center Boulevard. Just mayhem, mischief, all kinds of chaos. You guys okay? You guys survived just even getting here to the studio today?
I thought about kind of devolving into a road rage incident. I think that would have relieved a lot of frustration for me.
That would have actually been something we should have YouTube lived or Facebook lived and traffic everywhere. Claude would have made that thing go viral.
I probably would have. I am known to take like some of the most randomest things and make them viral. The zenith of my entire virality of anything literally has been me taking a video and turning it into a GIF of a girl at an LSU basketball game. It was LSU versus Georgia at home. There was nobody there, and the camera panned on her, and she was spelling out "tigers" like they do when they play the song. And then she added an expletive to the end. It went real viral real quickly.
Just because of the expletive?
Yeah. Because it was like TIGERS blank, and literally that part. And then she just had this like mean mug look of just like at like the Georgia players. And it went everywhere. It was on Deadspin. It was on Bleacher Report. It was everywhere.
I'll tell you what. One time, I don't even remember what the story was about, but Deadspin called me for something. I said, "Oh God, what did I do?"
Yeah, it's never good.
I'm always wondering, what did I do?
You're probably not the only one that's had that reaction anytime you see like, "Hi, this is so and so from Deadspin." Oh, hang up the phone.
I said, "Oh, what did I do?" Because easily I could have done just something stupid.
That's also fair. Also true.
Thankfully, I think it might have been bounty related, and I think they thought maybe I was just too boring, and they didn't do anything. So
yeah, I actually think I talked to Deadspin editor around bounty time too. I think they were working on something that never came to fruition.
Yeah, nothing ever came about. So luckily for us, we don't. Yeah.
Yeah, Deadspin's never a good thing.
That's not always true. I think Deadspin. I think the rap that Deadspin gives, it's mostly it's mostly self-inflicted with some of the things that they do. Obviously the Hulk Hogan stuff pretty much was the thing that they didn't realize doomed them in the end. But they actually, there's a few times they put out some really, really quality work, like some really, really in-depth.
Some of it is, and then there's some of it's just
and then some
trash.
of it's fart jokes. Yeah, and it's like, okay,
but
here's a butt.
But back to the original point here. What is going on?
Yeah, can someone tell us, please, what's going on in the city?
What is going on over there? I mean, I realize there's conventions in town, but this was, it looked like there was no plan at all for the amount of traffic, and it was chaos.
And that's our radio topic today. What is going on at the convention center?
What is going on?
504-260-1280. What is going on in this city?
Somebody tell me, dogs and cats living together.
Jeff, do a poll.
Oh, by the way, I have a poll from yesterday.
Huge
traffic.
More polls.
Huge traffic.
Him and his polls.
So I did send out a poll. Could we do this now? You want to tease people, or should we do it now?
Well, it's 10:08, and so this segment's lasting for at least another 7 minutes.
Oh, sweet, awesome, good.
So I think we don't need to tease it. We might as well just say what the poll is, because I don't even remember what you did. I remember you doing one.
I remember what it was.
It was named the best team in the NFC South. We had 706 respondents.
That's good.
An overwhelming majority. Of course, my audience is going to be biased here. New Orleans Saints, 88%. The Atlanta Falcons, 6%. Carolina Panthers, 5%. Tampa Bay Bucks, 1%.
That sounds like the most unscientific poll I've ever seen in my life.
Just saying, I sent it out. 700 respondents, 88%.
I need to retweet it right now, so I'm going to go retweet it, and we'll go through these. But look, all you got to do is look at the landscape of the NFL. Look, last night, if you missed the Kansas City Oakland game,
crazy.
You missed insanity.
It was insanity.
It was total insanity.
How many chances are they going to give them to win the game?
Well, it was just it came out of basically the Oakland Raiders playbook from when they won in Week 1 here last year. They pulled it out, and that's the thing. 1 week Kansas City can be 5-0, and then you in 5 days they're 5-2. So it just goes to show you kind of the landscape of the NFL right now. And of course, we're going to be zeroed in on Saints-Packers. You'll be at Lambeau Field on Sunday, and Saints are walking into that game as a favorite. And yet, I think Saints fans are smart enough to know, and the Saints players and organization are smart enough to know that just because Aaron Rodgers isn't there doesn't mean the Saints are going to go in there and steamroll anyone. Far from it, I would honestly
say. I think it's a very dangerous game. I actually picked the Packers to win.
Hater.
And I just feel like you see that all the time. Like the first game that a new starter plays, he usually plays well, and then people get film on him, and it's not quite as well the second game. But the first game is always tough. I mean, the Saints have very, very little scouting report on Brett Hundley.
How long did Aaron Rodgers went down in the first quarter?
Well, they've got last week's tape, but that was basically
but
they weren't tailoring the game plan to his strengths.
Right.
And Mike McCarthy and his staff will now have a game plan suited to what he does well, and they're going to keep him out of things that he doesn't do well. And I'm sure the Saints are going to throw Dennis Allen. They're going to throw the kitchen sink at him, and let him see looks that he's never seen before. And Larry's story this past week about what the Saints have been doing defensively with all these different blitzes, I think we're going to see Brett Hundley challenged in his play recognition at the line of scrimmage.
Oh, I think absolutely. And you're looking at two teams that are one's going in one direction, one's seemingly going into another direction, and basically around Packers land, all hope is lost, and around the Saints, all hope is there. And so, but Jeff, we've seen this time and time again where a team just comes out and plays better, and it brings the cliche any given Sunday, and it's unless you're playing like Cleveland, which any given Sunday you beat Cleveland. But this is a different animal here.
And this season more than ever, as soon as you start thinking conventional wisdom, it goes the other way. I mean, this has been the most unpredictable season I can ever remember. So looking at it, I think I picked all the other NFC South. I think I picked every NFC South team to lose this week.
Wow.
And I'll probably be completely wrong. They'll probably all win, or they'll all win. The Saints will lose. It's just been a crazy year.
It's true.
I can never remember it being quite this unpredictable. Right now, the NFC, the Eagles are the only one-loss team, and then there's, I think, 10 other teams with 2 losses.
Yikes.
I'll just put it to you this way, and you know me, Bovada betting guy. I just do it because in my first and 10 column every week I have an odds and ends piece and part of it, and I just think it's fun. just to get a scope of where Vegas is leaning, and usually they're spot on. The number one NFL MVP candidate is Carson Wentz going into this week.
That's crazy.
Leading the pack, number one.
That's crazy. He is having a tremendous year.
A good year, yeah.
But the Eagles are 5-1, and I wrote my NFL picks column this week. They're far from a dominant 5-1. I think they've won 3 games by like 5 points or less. 1 game by 2 points. One by so they're not exactly the 85 Bears.
Do you still believe in the Chiefs after last night?
Yeah, I thought that was actually
a better win than
they could have easily won the game.
Yeah,
I mean, it was incredible. That last play, when you go back and watch it, the synchronicity between the quarterback and the receiver, I mean, it needed to be perfectly executed for them to complete that pass.
And they almost missed the extra point.
I know. And
it would have been tied.
A lot of pressure on that extra point.
Yeah, exactly. But look, the Raiders pulled off the win on a Thursday night, and so look now, and Saints-Packers, all of a sudden, you look at the Fox promos of the game, and it's their lead game. I don't think Joe Buck is going to be doing the game because he's going to be likely in doing World Series coverage, but I don't think it's going to be like America's game of the week, but it is their number one game. I think it's the number 2 crew is doing like Pam Oliver is a sideline reporter.
Right.
So obviously they're promoting this game even without Aaron Rodgers. But you just look at what the Saints have been doing, and I dug up some other numbers for that surround the defense, and I put it in my 1st and 10 column, and it's basically how the Saints don't have 1 or 2 tackling machines. They don't have a Luke Kuechly who has 20 more tackles than the next guy. The Saints, their team actually is among their top 6 tacklers. It's the tightest top 6 on any team in the NFL, which means everyone's getting it done. You're not having to lean on one guy to go and make all of your plays. Like A.J. Klein, he leads the Saints in tackles by 1 combined with 26. And that ranks like 111th in the NFL, like 111th.
Wow.
But you have guys at 26, 25, 24, a couple at 21, 1 at 22. It's so tight that you're not having to lean on that, and obviously that's been a big key for the Saints. Swarming the football, all kinds of players on the defense making plays, not just 1 or 2 guys.
And I'll tell you the thing I noticed from the press box on Sunday is they are really, and this is a football term you hear a lot, almost cliche, they're running to the football. I mean, all 11 guys swarming to the ball, like you said, that leads to this kind of democratic spreading out of the tackle totals because everybody's flying to the ball. And that's when you start producing turnovers because a guy strips a fumble and you're there to pick it up. When you're not running to the ball, the offense gets it. So I've noticed that. And that's been an emphasis for this team for a while. It was under Rob Ryan. It never really manifested itself into production. We're seeing it produce results now, and that becomes contagious. Defenders start rallying to the football now because they see that, hey, I might get a fumble recovery. That's what happened with Marshawn Lattimore running to the ball when Kenny Vaccaro got stripped.
Yeah, and you look at A.J. Klein has 26, Kenny Vaccaro 25, Cam Jordan 24, Marcus Williams 23, Marshawn Lattimore and P.J. Williams are 21. So, yeah, their top 6 tacklers, they're only separated by 5 tackles.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I don't think we've ever seen anything like that.
No, probably not. And you look at just the confidence that they're playing, and even though I still think you look at the Packers, they've got some weapons, and still they probably still feel good about themselves going up into this game.
So here's a question for you. Do you think Jari Evans helps the Packers?
What's so funny, Clyde?
I didn't know where he was going.
I mean, Jari Evans, I was like, he knows the Saints as well as just about anybody. He played here 11 years. He knows how Drew Brees operates at the line. He knows the blocking schemes. He's going to be able to help that defense, I think, a lot.
I think he's going to help the Packers more than Taysom Hill will help the Saints. Just a small – that's a pretty sturdy branch I'm going to stand on.
I think that's a little bit of an overlooked factor in this game. And there's only so much they can do. They still have to make the plays. But he is going to have intel. He knows how Drew operates at the line, and that's one of the things that Drew is great at is getting the Saints in the right play at the line of scrimmage, getting them out of the wrong play. And I expect them to try and counter that with a lot of strategy pre-snap.
Absolutely. So why don't we take a break right here on the show, line up the show, what we got coming up. In about 15 minutes, we will have Jimmy Smith, our recruiting guru here at NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. We'll get the latest on who's visiting where, who's being intrigued by teams and such. So we'll talk with Jimmy Smith about that. 10:45, we'll have our buddy Jim Derry on. We'll get the latest on the prep football weekend. 11 o'clock hour, we'll hear from Drew Brees, some of his thoughts on the game going up. I know we got our newly revamped pick segment to where I think I got one of my 3 picks.
Larry was sweating that out in the press box on Sunday. He was so concerned with his upset pick, which was the Bears, and it came through.
Yeah, my lock of the week was a pile of garbage. The Atlanta Falcons.
Ooh.
How'd that work?
Yikes.
How'd that work out?
Hot garbage.
Right, exactly. So, and then, look, don't forget, tonight, home opener for the Pelicans. They're going to take on the Golden State Warriors, and we will talk about that. Why don't we talk about that next segment here on Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. Clyde's here, Jeff's here, Dave is in the studios at iHeart, and I'm here. We're all Dunc and Holder.
See what we're up to now.
Enjoy
the gift.
From great food.
I didn't realize that was the gift you were talking about.
Yeah.
I remember that gift. That was you did that?
Yeah, I did that.
That was like a huge one.
Yeah,
that went all over the world.
I did that on mine.
I'm calling with Jimmy now.
Like,
No, 10:30. Next segment.
Sorry, bud.
10:30. Okay.
Yeah.
And 10:45
Yeah, I was like,
is Derry.
So I literally, I was watching. I got home from something at work, and I turned on the game to see what was going on because I was exhausted. And then I just flipped it on, and I remember that, and I was like, holy crap, did she just say what I thought she said? And I knew the guys in the video department who like find these people. So I rewound it on my TiVo, and did she say what I think she said? Oh yeah, she did. So I literally pulled out Vine, captured the whole thing, and I tagged it, and I put it on Twitter, and then all of a sudden, my phone vibrated for like 20 minutes. It was just like, because people were just like, and I was like, okay, everybody saw it, and then all the big people started seeing it, and I was like, when I saw
Nothing kills
Bleacher
a buzz
Report,
like getting pulled over for buzz driving,
Deadspin,
because buzz driving is drunk driving.
all of them, like ESPN, College retweeted it, and I was like, well, this is going to be the zenith of my social media life. It's never going to get any better than this.
It was just a classic, too, because her expression
was just like, especially towards the end where she's just like,
well, the zenith of my social media life was me and Jari Evans.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That was huge.
That went nuclear.
That did go nuclear.
Melted cheese wrapped in a fried egg shell. Only a taco.
1 minute.
Participating stores for a limited time during breakfast hours.
Did 22 Americans die each day waiting for organ transplant?
I should have known better.
The good news is that matching donors
you know it right as soon as the reaction starts coming. Then you're like, oh man, I needed to back off on that.
Organ donors with people in desperate
it was
need
Joni's
of
fault.
other transplants. And now
She's the one who pushed me to do it. I didn't even think about it. She's like, you should do this. And I'd had a couple of thoughts in me, and I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Help save the lives of people needing organ transplant.
Heck, at the Touchdown Club, when they gave me that little media honor, because Lyons brought it up. Like, he was the MC, and he brought it up. And so I get up to the podium, and I just crushed Joni. I was like, she's the one who pushed me to do that.
To your door with free
shipping. Like, Dennis Lausch is there, and Doug Thornton, and no, it was her fault. I just crushed it.
22-foot adjustable multi-position gorilla ladder. Step up to great savings on it.
10 seconds.
For November, get free shipping when you order on HomeDepot.com. Only at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. Offer valid on select ladders, online only.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Pelicans Warriors tonight at the Smoothie King Center. There's one way to get NFL, Saints, LSU football fan into your arena for a basketball game for your home opener. It's to at least you're facing the Golden State Warriors. And so that will at least bring some instant intrigue for the Pelicans this season.
Yeah, and look, LSU's on the road this weekend, so are the Saints. You're going to be here in town. I mean, Tulane's got a huge game on Saturday at Ullman Stadium against South Florida, but most fans should be here. this weekend. So no excuse not to come out and see the defending NBA champs, and somebody's going to leave that game 0-2.
Exactly, and that's one of the surprising aspects because the Warriors lost to the Rockets 122-121 in the opener. And it's an 8:30 tip. It will be on national television on ESPN, but of course it will also be on our sister station, 99.5 WRNO. They are the flagship of all things Pelicans hoops. And so I'm curious to see the turnout by the fans. I'm curious to see just how the Pelicans react to this game, because obviously to me, I think the Warriors have far more depth. They're going in here. Let's see what Vegas. Of course, Vegas again. And I don't even gamble.
We're back to betting.
But it's just right in front of my face.
What is the line? I'm curious.
8.5.
The Warriors?
Yeah. Warriors favored by 8.5
the Pels
points.
will cover that.
I think it's going to. That's the thing.
A close game.
I could see it being a close game, but it's. I'm just curious to see how, say, Drew Holiday rebounds from that first game because he was out of sorts. And if Anthony Davis and Boogie Cousins can score 80 points combined and no one else does anything, they're going to lose by 30. I mean, that's just kind of the way the team is right now.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. We'll see if this Boogie Brow tandem, the counterintuitive, outside-the-box strategy of having two bigs, if that will be effective against the best team in the NBA, which really they don't. I mean, who's their big man? Sasha Pachulia?
Yeah, you can either really. I mean, it depends on the lineup they have. It's either Zaza or it's Draymond Green.
I was about to say Draymond Green,
depending on the setup that they're in, because they can. That's the one thing about the Warriors that's so different and so dynamic. There was a really good story, I think, maybe a couple of weeks ago about how Steve Kerr came up with the idea of this type of offense, and it basically came down with like writing on a napkin of all these different ideas of how to use different guys differently and how to use these different sets and can we do this, can we do that. It's really, really enlightening, but like they can do that because they have so much firepower from so many different areas that, you know, this is kind of what, you know, the Pelicans were talking about. Like the guys were talking about this whole different offense that they hope to be trendsetters in, with a guy like DeMarcus Cousins, who, even though you don't want him to shoot as many threes as he shot, he can shoot threes. Anthony Davis, and then the guys around them and what they can do in this kind of like big offense kind of thing.
I'm wondering, because it was brought up as a topic during Pelicans media days, that Anthony Davis could be defending more small forwards, you know, the wing players. They were going to try to expand his horizons as far as not just defending a big man. I'm curious if he defends Kevin Durant tonight. He might. I don't see why.
That would be awesome. Right? I can't wait.
I would think they would put Dante Cunningham on.
They would, but there's going to be some times, though, especially in that offense, where they might have to switch off on guys. And there might be – the one thing I don't think you want is Boogie on Durant, which could also possibly happen.
You do not want that.
You do not want that.
No, nobody wants that.
But I do think that there will be
just put him on Steph Curry.
Yeah. Well, you might see that. I mean, it depends because of the type of motion, because of the type of screens that they set, especially high up. You might see a guy like Anthony Davis on Kevin Durant, and honestly, for me, you've got length on length there. So what's crazy about that is that I think that Anthony Davis might actually, if he does end up playing Kevin Durant, might give him a little bit of trouble, especially if he wants to drive in the lane, maybe putting his hands up in his face to try to maybe get his shot off, things like that. I think that could actually be a good thing tonight, depending on what happens.
Well, the problem is, you could put Anthony Davis on Kevin Durant, but you're outgunned. I mean, your starting lineup is outgunned. The Warriors.
The bench is outgunned too.
The Warriors are gonna. Well, the bench is really outgunned. And that's something we talked about after that first game. The Pelicans just have no bench. They have no bench. Yeah, I know Ian Clark. Look, he's coming from the Warriors, and you think
apparently he's getting his ring tonight, I believe.
What's that?
I think he's getting his ring tonight from the Warriors.
Oh, well, hey, he won once
and
somewhere.
And that ring is gorgeous, by the way.
He won once somewhere, so there you go. But you go into these games and you just got to, if you're a Pelicans fan, expect a loss, hope for the best, see what happens. But if they lose this game and drop to 0-2, they need to rebound quickly. I mean, they can't afford to fall off the map early like they've done. And it's funny how when the players spoke about this at Media Day, they had no problem recognizing, oh, we've got to get off to a fast start or we're doomed, essentially. And then when you heard Dell Demps and you heard Alvin Gentry speak about this, they kind of backed off of that because I guess they didn't want to put themselves in a corner as if like, oh, we start off slow again, we're doomed, and then we're fired. So I guess they don't want to put that out there. But look, the players know. And when we even had Alvin Gentry on way back at the beginning of the show a few months ago, he recognized it then. I just think he wants to downplay it in case they do get off to a slow start and it's bad news Bears again.
Well, what was amazing, what'll be interesting tonight is to see if the Pelicans elect to run with the Warriors. I mean, that's usually suicidal. The Rockets did. The Rockets outscored them in a shootout. They're one of the few teams that can do that. They like to play a similar style. But amazing, just look at the box score from the Warriors-Rockets game. The Warriors hit 16 of 30 threes, so they hit 53% of their threes. They hit 19 of 21 free throws. They shot 53% from the field and lost. Says a lot about the Rockets, I think.
Yeah.
That they can outgun the best guns in the NBA.
Now they could do it for one night. Can they do it in a 7-game series?
That's
I mean,
true.
that's going to.
And they won by one.
Right, and they won by 1 point.
And they were playing at home.
Right,
so,
and you're right.
Yeah. So, well, here's the thing, though, and here's what's not so bad about, well, at least what I think about this stretch coming up. So, let's say worst of all fears that they do lose tonight. I think the
Worst of all fears.
Worst of all.
I don't think it's the worst of all. I don't think it's the worst of all fears. If they lose by 80, that's the worst of all.
Worst of all fears
is
getting caught in that convention center traffic.
Which, by the way, I know what that is now. One of our illustrious YouTube watchers, Luke, told us that it is a jewelry convention. Going on.
No, the jewelry show.
A jewelry show, convention.
You probably just tried to mow down my mother-in-law because she lives at those jewelry shows.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
There's such a thing? It exists?
Oh,
I guess so. I got caught in it.
It's mayhem.
It was.
I've tried to drop off my wife and my mother-in-law in this thing, and you get caught in it, and it's like you're in a vortex.
People still buy jewelry?
Yeah,
is jewelry still a thing?
I mean, otherwise, that old antique show on PBS still wouldn't be a thing where people trying to hawk jewelry and furniture sets and all that kind of stuff from the 1850s.
You talking about Antiques Roadshow?
Yes, absolutely.
That's a great show.
No, I mean,
you got to understand there is a segment of
society
who still shops on QVC and still does that.
True.
So
yeah.
really? Yes.
Yeah, my aunt.
Come on.
I'm pretty sure my aunt keeps QVC in business.
Oh no, that's not good.
No, there was like a great South Park mocking the QVC channel.
Yes, there was.
It was a great episode.
Of course. Old Jeff Cartman going back to South Park.
I'm really impressed with Jeff's knowledge of South Park. That's awesome. I thought that
he tries to downplay it,
but there's something there with that, Jeff. I'm proud of you.
There's Jeff back again. We're secret recording at his house.
Do that about traffic. Do the Cartman voice about traffic.
I will say this.
Jeff's not gonna do
I actually think Dave's voice sounds a little like Cartman's.
Uh-oh.
What you guys talking about?
On that note, perfect segue for a commercial break right here on Sports 1280. When we get back, we'll talk high school / college football recruiting with our own Jimmy Smith of NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. And then Jim Derry, around 10:45, we'll get the latest on the big prep football matchup. So our staple segments on a Friday show. On a Country Fried Friday, coming up here, Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app, Dunc and Holder.
And Bocephus.
Is that who this is? I know the song. I don't know who's singing.
He thinks Obama's a Nazi.
Oh, jeez. I think.
Oil change.
Happy Friday.
I'd like to find 3 country singers who don't think that.
Good point. Very good point.
Mid-80s today with a more muggy
America.
Yeah, exactly.
I love how we were able to get so completely like
a stray shower or two. Tonight temperatures will fall into the upper 60s
diverted when I said
on
it was
the
a jewelry show. I was going to say that they're on the road at the Lakers,
we'll see
at
an
Portland,
increase
and
in
at
showers around, especially during the
I think 2 of those games are winnable.
From the Fox 8 Weather Center,
we totally got derailed.
So that's where I was going, YouTube guys. I was going to say that I think 2 of their next 3 on the road are winnable.
Easy for over 30 years.
Yeah, they are.
Who they got next?
So after tonight, they're on the road for the next 3. So it's a West Coast swing. They're at the Lakers on Sunday.
That's a win.
They're at Portland on Tuesday.
That's going to be tough.
And then they're at Sacramento next Thursday.
Oh, they can win 2 of those.
2 of those are winnable.
Yeah, the Blazers are tough at home. That's a tough place to play.
Mm-hmm.
But the Kings and Lakers are.
Yeah.
God, the Lakers, didn't they get crushed by the Clippers?
Yeah, they look bad.
I mean, it was last night, right?
Yeah, it was last night. Yeah, it was bad.
Did Lonzo Ball play?
He played.
Did he not play well?
It wasn't a great game. But, I mean, at the same time, though, Patrick Beverly was on him all night and in his face all night. So he was not going to have it. But, I mean, he had some really good plays. He had a couple shots. He dished the ball off, so it wasn't terrible. But apparently there's a video online of Stephen A. Smith and LeVar Ball after last night's game getting into it. So I'm trying to figure out what that is. So that's awesome.
When is that going to
ESPN puts LeVar Ball on their homepage no matter what he does.
Absolutely.
They're the ones that drive it.
Yes, they are.
If they would ignore him.
NBA Carmelo Anthony.
They're willingly seeking him out for these things.
I know.
Oklahoma City.
Ridiculous.
Lakers drubbed by the Clippers 108-92 in Los.
Oh.
Jimmy's not answering.
Sports. Jake Orwood, NBC News Radio.
Allison is perfect. I mean, she'd never tell you that.
Well, I call the 258. Should I call a different number, the 904 one?
Yeah, try it. I'm gonna text him right now.
Allison, wait, are you texting?
Or just tell him to call in.
No, that's the exact opposite of what.
Why we have two numbers for him or something?
Yeah.
Allison?
I don't think I have any numbers for him.
I think that's the problem.
LeVar Ball retorts, "Who is Patrick Beverly?" Jesus.
He's the kid who just shut down your
Up
kid.
in your kid's face all day.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Governor Billy Nunn-Guest.
Mercy.
Louisiana is more than just a place to visit. It's
I would try the 504 one, Dave.
Being outdoors.
If you were trying 904.
Who camped, biked, paddled, and hiked our state parks last year. As we invite you to do the same.
Oh gosh,
Every corner of Louisiana is
gotta
something
look
to
up the
offer.
story.
From the world-class fishing at
what's
Toledo
going on.
Bend to paddling at Fontainebleau to exploring the ancient mounds at Poverty Point World Heritage Site. So fill up your car and staycation right here in our home, Louisiana.
If you are
Oh yeah.
All right. Yeah, the other number we had is not his number anymore.
Oh, sorry.
The guy's like, yeah, that nice recruiter guy.
I guess people have been calling him. Like, stop calling me.
Yeah. No, apparently he's a LSU fan, so it's okay.
Oh, that's funny.
That is genetic testing to guide treatment.
All right, yeah, I called the 504 number, but nothing happened.
Okay, I texted him on that.
We got 10 seconds.
All right, just keep trying.
Keep trying, yeah.
Whatever.
This public service announcement has been brought to you by
Clyde will bring up what you were trying to talk about.
That's fair.
What?
Learn what our insiders know about your home teams. Sports 1280 New Orleans.
Fiddlesticks Friday here on Dunc and Holder, or Country Fried Friday. Clyde, we turned off the exit ramp about 5 exits too short when we were talking about the jewelry show and my mother-in-law playing in traffic.
And QVC, I think we hit all points with the jewelry show.
Right.
And or jewelry.
But let's get back to your point here real quick as we're efforting Jimmy Smith to talk some prep and college football recruiting. Just the stretch you're talking about with the Pelicans. Just kind of go through that and just your thoughts on what we were going to be talking about.
Right. So what we were talking about before we went to break and before we started talking about gold and gold rush, outside of this game tonight against Golden State, the Pelicans will be on the road for the next 3. That's one of their typical West Coast swings where they'll hit a few West Coast teams before coming back home. On Sunday, they are at the Lakers. And after what we saw last night with the Lakers losing to the Clippers in fashion, that may be a winnable game. But you're talking about at the Lakers, at Portland, that one would be tough, but then you're at Sacramento. So I think that you have time to, even if you start 0-2 after tonight, there is a good possibility that you could be just one game if all things play out well. There's a good possibility that you could be one game back of being at 500 possibly if you can pull out 2 of those wins, especially with the Lakers team that's rebuilding and a Sacramento team that's also the same place.
Yeah, just don't start 0-6. I mean, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You got to win the games you should be winning.
Yeah.
So I think that's, even despite what happens tonight, I think people need to zero in on that. So, and joining us right here on the show, Jimmy Smith, our high school football, college football recruiting expert here at NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. Hey, Jimmy, appreciate the time. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well on this Friday, guys. How are you?
Doing great.
Man, it's a big weekend, Jimmy, over on Willow Street for Tulane. This is their big, we talked to Troy Dannon yesterday. He's saying it might be the biggest home game they've had since Ullman opened, when they opened with Georgia Tech. Tell us about what Tulane's got going on this weekend. I know the weather looks like it might be a little dicey, but it sounds like they got a big recruiting weekend.
Yeah, coming down the backstretch here, teams bringing more and more kids on visits as the back end of the schedule comes around. Kids are narrowing down their decisions, and National Signing Day is only a few months away. So Tulane's going to get the ball rolling this week. They have some big in-state prospects coming in town. They're working on setting unofficial visits for the Cincinnati game coming up in a couple weeks. But this weekend is going to really give them an opportunity to make a splash with a lot of these kids. I think they're going to have a pretty good base of fans over there for that game. But tomorrow, big contest, as you stated. South Florida is definitely an electric football team to watch. I think it's going to draw a lot of fans, and if they can kind of capture that moment and just be competitive for that game, I think it really bodes well for them down the stretch.
Hey, Jimmy, who are some of the names we should keep an eye on that will be there, and just who are Tulane competing with some of these kids with the schools that are going after them?
Yeah, there's really some interesting names here, like Jordan Valiant, a kid from Alexandria, DJ Charksville High School. Typically, kids from there kind of fly under the recruiting radar a bit. Same things kind of happen with Valiant. He's received offers from Arizona State and a bunch of other Division I programs, but not near as much as possibly he should. And he's an impact player. He's somebody that can come in and really play right away. 6'3", 6'4", can really run. I've caught word that he really wants to stay close to home, so I think Tulane's really got a shot here. And that's a kid that probably had 8 or 10 BCS level offers, so that'd be a huge pull for them. And a guy I really like that I think could be a huge difference maker for them right away, a linebacker. Is a safety, Tyron Wheat out of a meet. He's about 6'2", 205 pounds. A lot of room to grow. I think he'll play linebacker at the next level. He's committed to Missouri right now, but he's been very open with the Tulane staff, returning calls, setting up visits, things of that nature. So there's a little bit of confidence there that they might be able to flip him from an SEC program. So they definitely got a little momentum going right now. Some big names coming in, and they're just hoping to capitalize on it this weekend.
Jimmy, is there a running back out there in the state or anywhere that might be a target for Tulane? I see, obviously Dontrell Hilliard, Sherman Beatty, both going to be moving on. There's an opportunity there if you're a running back in the Gulf Coast area to come into this offense, and you see what Hilliard's doing this year in that offense. I would think it would be a very attractive place to play if, say, you don't get an offer from LSU to go play for Willie Fritz in that system.
Yeah, very dynamic running game. There's going to be a lot of touches coming out of that backfield, and I think prospects from in-state know that. Some of the bigger names this year, Slade Bolden from West Monroe, A.J. Carter from Manning, they're headed to Alabama and UCLA respectively. Anthony Puka-Williams, some of the big names, they're not going to be able to get their hands on. But a guy like Tyree Goldman, really explosive runner, kind of small, Maurice Jones-Drew-esque, probably 5'6", 5'7", but really compact, really explosive, and is a home run threat. Recruitment didn't really take off. He's also a pretty good receiver in passing game. I think he's a guy that could step in that offense and produce those big runs that you've seen Hilliard be able to put down on paper for Tulane this year. So I think running backs are starting to take notice. I just don't think this is the year because there's some upper echelon guys Tulane simply can't get their hands on. There aren't a lot of middle of the tier backs that they can kind of sink their teeth in. But a guy like Tyree Golden's one to watch.
Jimmy Smith, recruiting expert here at NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune, joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. Jimmy, how much has the craziness of the last few weeks up in Baton Rouge, has it calmed down for them, or are they still kind of reeling from that on the recruiting trail, or the fact that you pick up 2 wins against Florida and Auburn, how much does that kind of calm the waters a little bit for Ed Orgeron?
I'll say during my tenure at NOLA.com, a little bit over 5 years now covering LSU, those 3 wins they've reeled off here, probably the 3 biggest wins and over that span as far as the effects it could have on recruiting. They were really sliding hard. The national media was on them. You heard the locals chirping again. We saw the headlines, the message boards about Ed Orgeron as he qualified for the job. They really needed to come out and turn it around quickly and show that this team is kind of in rebuilding phase and the future's bright. So I've seen the turn from parents and kids after that loss to Troy. A lot of people were really scratching their heads and second-guessing their decisions to have, LSU as their leader or LSU in their top group. But now you start to see it turn. You know, I had a parent tell me the other day of a big LSU target right now that this LSU team reminds them of Georgia last year, and that they're really rebuilding for the future. And we see what Georgia's doing this year, and that's what he was implying. He thinks the future's bright in Baton Rouge. So been a huge few weeks here for them on the recruiting trail, just to kind of stop the bleeding and show that the future, is still bright in Baton Rouge.
Jimmy, I know last month you had a story saying that LSU had made an offer to Anthony Puka-Williams at Hahnville. What's any update on his recruiting status? Are teams coming after him, or is he a guy that's going to go down to the wire, you think, with his commitment right now?
Well, I think, Anthony had a slow start academically in his high school career, and the new rules of the NCAA don't allow you to do the process they used to call repeat and delete, which is basically take multiple classes in a summer to improve on past grades that might not have been sufficient. So he's really kind of been an academic risk for some programs. So he's kind of in a wait-and-see mode for a lot of these programs. He doesn't have near the offers his talent warrants, and that's the primary reason. LSU has seen progress in him this year in school. These colleges monitor their academic progress frequently, and they felt confident enough that he's got a real chance here. So that's kind of where that offer came from. But it's still slowing down his recruitment a bit. I don't think LSU is going to be fighting a lot of schools. If he starts to really get his ACT score in order and finishes the fall semester strong, you could see some schools come in real late. So it's going to be interesting to really follow this next 2-3 weeks for Anthony Puka-Williams. It's kind of a unique situation. You got to kind of monitor it day to day, and he says he's doing well. He's confident he'll be fine, and LSU is. I think as long as LSU keeps recruiting him and he qualifies, I think he ends up in Baton Rouge.
And he's a talent, right? I mean, he could play in the SEC level. It's just the grades are what the issue is, not his ability.
Yeah, he's a rare talent. He's a true difference maker. Guys like him 20 years ago might have had a hard time playing beyond Saturdays into Sundays, but the way these offenses are kind of opening up, this kid's future is bright on the next level and beyond. I mean, he's an absolute dynamic player in the open field. He's about as hard to touch as anyone you'll see out there. His ability to kind of stick his foot in the ground and explode, his 10-yard burst is elite. I've seen him run on test mats for Jordan training facility, and he recorded the fastest 40 ever on their mat, and they've timed Chris Johnson and a bunch of other NFL guys. So this guy's really explosive. He's got the kind of ability that you just find ways to get him the ball, and he can change the scoreboard in an instant. So he's a little raw, and he's kind of does his own thing at times. He's a freelancer out there in the open field. So it can be a little bit of a frustration, but there's a risk-reward involved with this game. The reward's just too great not to put him on the field.
Jimmy Smith, NOLA.com, Times-Picayune recruiting expert. You could follow him on Twitter at Jimmy Detail. Hey, Jimmy, appreciate the insight as always, and I'm sure we will be catching up with you once again real soon. Thanks, bud.
Look forward to it, guys. Take care.
Have a good weekend. Thanks, Jimmy. You too. That's Jimmy Smith, NOLA.com, Times-Picayune. And like Jimmy said, this is kind of the nitty-gritty time of when teams are going to – if you're going to start getting in on a kid, it's the time to do it.
Yeah, there's a video we have of Anthony Puka-Williams I'm watching right now on NOLA.com, a highlight reel. He is unbelievable. He's like Tyreek Hill, kind of. Smaller guy, elite speed and elusiveness. Whoever he eventually winds up at is getting a player.
All right, well, I'm sure he'll be playing this weekend, so perfect segue for Jim Derry, prep guru here for NOLA.com and Times-Picayune. We'll talk about the big prep football weekend coming up next year. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app with Dunc and Holder.
The passion.
Inbound to Frazier, left wing three.
Exactly. That's the first thing I thought of. He was in a tornado.
Blake Paul layup. Good.
The excitement.
Floats it up. Good. At the buzzer, it counts. Top Reynolds. Wide open three. Buried it.
The thrill.
Pass those away. And dunks it in. Poster.
Tulane basketball returns on Friday, November.
All right, 3 minutes.
The Tulane IMG Sports Network.
Sports 1280, New Orleans.
iHeartRadio. All your favorite music.
Dude,
all your favorite stations.
Please tell me
all
you've seen
free.
this tweet,
And
Jeff.
now, with football season in full swing, let's be honest. Most of your week is focused on your fantasy team or teams. No reason to leave the iHeartRadio app, because now we have the Fantasy Sports Radio Network. 24/7 interactive fantasy talk and advice so you can dominate your league. Get your fantasy football fix right on the app. Fantasy Sports Radio Network. iHeartRadio.
The hurricanes get the blame for another negative sign for the U.S. economy. The Conference Board's leading economic index fell 0.2 in September, and most economists predicted it would increase 0.2. And the index had increased in both July and August. Analysts say of the 10 components in the index, the biggest weakness was in labor markets and residential construction, which were both
that's what refers to as the other
Hurricanes Harvey and Irma also
That's
damaged
our,
a lot
former
of cars,
colleague.
as many as 1 million from Harvey alone. Consumer advocates have been warning about many of these damaged cars.
I know. I'm gonna be a cupcake going in there, writing a column tonight. Cupcake Larry.
Jeff Rossen on Nightly News this week used a drone to show acres of
You're gonna have fun, man.
By the way, these are
It is gonna be.
You know what is
refreshing.
really cool if you
car
get a
insurance
chance.
and turn
I
the
don't know what
cars
your
into the
timing
insurance
is.
companies.
Get there
More than
if you get there early and
60%
watch
of the
Steph
people in
Curry
the
do
hurricane
his
zones
pregame.
here
I mean, it's unbelievable.
did not have any insurance.
Like
And
he
experts
does these
fear
dribbling
it
exercises,
happens
then he
after
does
almost every
shooting.
storm, they say.
It's insane.
They're going to hold on to these
I
cars,
remember one
clean
time
them
when
up,
they played them, I think
make
in the
them look
playoffs
like they weren't
2 years
flooded
ago.
out, and then
It
sell
was
them
before
on
it
the
became a
open
thing,
market
and I was just
across
sitting
the
there watching
country
it.
to
And he
people like
made,
you, people who just want to buy a
I'm not
used
exaggerating,
car
he made like
without ever telling
22
them there's a
straight
problem.
three-pointers.
Some of the
to shoot.
telltale signs
he
the
was
car
just
was underwater,
flicking it, and the guy's
condensation
feeding
in
him and flicking it,
headlights,
and I was
new
like,
upholstery,
1,
and a used
2.
car with rust or
It's just
corrosion on the engine,
amazing.
sand
Yeah.
and dirt in unusual places.
And he just
like
flicked.
deep
He's
under
not a
the
big
seats.
guy, but
A
he
buyer's tip: check the vehicle's VIN number for free at the National Insurance Crime Bureau website. Big Soda is getting sued over the use of the word diet.
All right, we got JD.
Cool.
Suit filed this week.
J Dizzle in the hizzle.
And Dr. Pepper Snapple Group claims calling a soda diet is false and misleading and unlawful marketing and could make a consumer think the drinks are a diet aid. A spokeswoman for Coca-Cola says the lawsuit is completely meritless. And more than 500,000 plush wind-up toys that play music are under recall because the handle can just come off. The toy maker, Kids Preferred, says there have been 6 instances of the handle coming off the toy, but no one's been reported injured. Consumer and business
games
news.
this
Joe
weekend.
McConnell, NBC
In
News
5
Radio.
minutes.
Study. You know we go to the same link.
At the Crescent City
Without Jim
Farmers
Derry's
Market
game
today.
previews, we're toast.
Yeah, we're dead.
1 p.m. to 5 p.m. with live
We are
music
totally
and
toast.
That's so terrible.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
produce, seafood, and products. Learn more at FrenchMarket.org.
This is Duncan Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Welcome back to the show. Live at our NOLA.com Tom's Picayune studios at the foot of Canal Street, 32nd floor. And joining us here, and he will be joining us Monday because I will be here. Jeff will still be venturing back from Lambeau Field. And so Jim Derry, to our producer Dave's joy, will be back here in the seat, but you're just joining us on the phone today, Jim. So how are you, my friend?
Ready to give Dave the business on Monday.
I thought you were going to say nemesis, Larry.
I was
Give him the
being,
business.
of course, facetious because you guys, I think, don't like each other. That's just my guess.
I think you're casting aspersions.
That's my vibe. That's what I think.
We love each other.
We're besties.
Hey,
we call each other on Tuesday nights and hang out.
Exactly.
Before we get into the preps, did we get a Dodgers Cubs score from last night?
No, we have not talked about that on the show by design.
They played last night?
I'm just curious. I didn't.
Last time I checked, I think
I was out, and it was like 100-0 at one point.
It was
Hey,
pathetic.
Larry, did you get the Giants-Mets score last night? Oh, no.
Oh, boy. On that note, big game this weekend, your game of the week. Jim, look, it's another Catholic League one, and yet it's a big one. So give all of our listeners the lowdown on our game of the week.
Well, it's the Regis Radiator NOLA.com game of the week. It's week 8 already, boys. I can't believe it. We've only got 2 weeks left to go after this one in the regular season. And tonight we've got a big Catholic League matchup. If it's John Curtis and Holy Cross, and the John Curtis Patriots are number 1 in the power ratings in Division 1, and Holy Cross
trying to fight to hold on to their shot, their small shot at getting a Catholic League title. They'd have to win tonight. And, a lot of things going on in Holy Cross, and they are trying to basically tread water. They fell in a heartbreaker last week for the Martin, and so we'll see how they respond this week. And it really should be a good game. It's not, I told my wife last night. She asked me what game I was covering. She says, "I wonder who's going to win that one." And it's not the automatic win that you might think. It's not. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a good game. And Holy Cross has shown some fight. They already defeated some team named Rummel, sorry Larry, and I think that it ought to be a pretty decent game.
Well, speaking of Rummel, they've got Brother Martin, and do you think that Holy Cross game took a little bit out of Rummel? I mean, they kind of skeeched by Jesuit last week. Doesn't seem like the same team.
I think it's obvious, Dunc, that it did because Rummel has no business playing a 1-point game with Jesuit. Jesuit got blown up by John Curtis the week before, 56-21, and it really wasn't that close. So it's obvious that it has taken something out of them. Their offense is really probably the best offense in the Catholic League, I think. They have great players all over the field. On offense, you were just talking to Jimmy Smith, and, they got a kid in Jamar Chase who's committed to Florida. Who knows where he's going to really end up, but it's going to be somewhere in the SEC. And, it's going to be interesting to see how they bounce back because they've got Curtis on their schedule next week. So they can't get caught looking ahead, and this is certainly a losable game, even if they, hadn't stumbled a little bit. So it's going to be very interesting to see how J. Roth got things going on Severn Avenue this week and whether they got their stuff together and how they face up against Brother Martin tomorrow night.
Jim Derry, preps guru here at NOLA.com, and the Times-Picayune joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. Look, you look at Landry Walker. I know they're playing Bonneville. You have them winning big, but after a slow start, how has Landry Walker kind of propelled themselves back to being a real power this season?
Speaking of Landry Walker, I had them predicted to win 60-0. They won 61-0. So, I'm not doing too bad there. Definitely better than my NFL picks. But Landry Walker, it's funny because last week I predicted them to lose to Everett, and they won 30-0. And the first thing they did was 3 players and a coach say how they were a little offended at the Times-Picayune picked against them. So I think they're kind of on a mission, sort of like they were last year, and they got a chip on that shoulder. We're still the defending champs. They came in last year as I believe it was I think they were an 8 seed or a 9 seed or something like that, and just steamed through the playoffs. They did the same thing in basketball as a 21 seed. They're probably looking at a 20-something seed in these playoffs. And I tell you what, if you're sitting around the 10, 11, 12 mark in 5A, and you're facing the opportunity of maybe having to host Landry Walker in round 1, that's not a very good proposition. And the same goes for the next round if you're somewhere sitting around, 5 or 6 or something, and you might have to play them in round 2. So they look like they're on a roll again, and I wouldn't want to play them right now. And they certainly have the mentality of Landry Walker. They know how to win championships. So they're definitely going to be one of those teams that we have to watch.
Jim, real quick, what are maybe another 2 or 3 games we need to keep an eye on tonight?
The 2 big games tonight, other than the one I have, are Hahnville is playing at East St. John. If Hahnville can win tonight, they can all but wrap up District 7 5A. And, Coach Salt was really down on his team after they lost to Brother Martin and told me, I don't know if we're going to win 5 games this year. And then the next week, they beat Destrehan and tells me, I don't think I'm going to lose another game this year. Well, I think the second one might be right. I think they win tonight, and they're going to cruise through the rest of the district and finish district play undefeated. Have people there excited. But, tonight's a big game because East St. John has proven that they can throw some stumbling blocks up. So it'll be interesting to see how they go there. And Puka Williams on a roll back as the number 1 rusher in the metro area. And then the other game we need to really watch tonight is De La Salle at St. James. De La Salle has steamed through their schedule so far and getting that number 1 ranking in 3A. But St. James is a team that's flying under the radar, really good, 6-1, and they have played just fantastic football. And to go in there and play the Wildcats in that stadium is not an easy chore. So we got Joe Hom there tonight, and I'm really interested to see, because that could be a stumbling block. And it's also going to be kind of a forecast to see how De La Salle is going to do, and if they have their heads on straight, if they can make a run in Division II. And they also have St. Charles coming up. So we're about to get a measuring stick on these Cavaliers, and it'll be real interesting to watch.
All right, Jim, in 20 seconds, give everyone game of the week, where you're going to be tonight.
We'll be at the
1 minute.
Stadium for John Curtis, Holy Cross. Regis Radiator, NOLA.com game of the week. My buddy Clyde Burnett, who's sitting, probably about 10 feet from you, will be manning the Facebook Live. We'll have it on Facebook Live and on our regular audio app. But if you just click and come find us tonight, you will find we'll have a link to the live stream, and it'll also be in
30.
You can watch and listen.
All right, Jim Derry, Preps Guru here at NOLA.com. That's Times Picayune. Thanks, Jim, and see you Monday.
See you tonight, bud.
All right, that's
See
Jim Derry. So hour number 1 is up. Hour number 2 is on the way. We will hear from Drew Brees coming up here next and talk.
I've heard him.
Saints Packers coming up. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder.
A new
break for Jeff.
What? Hey, what Corey just texted me something about Dan Patrick and the Wild Wings. What? Did I miss something?
Is a real eye-opener.
Wait, say that again?
What? Dan Patrick.
Corey Johnson texted me about Dan Patrick and a Buffalo Wild Wings commercial.
Have experienced one.
I mean,
does anybody have a clue what the hell he's talking about?
No.
Living with someone who is.
That dude is weird.
He's texting me about De La Salle,
That dude is
because he's
weird.
screaming that we need to talk about De La Salle.
Violence in the home or a neighborhood.
Corey.
Davis says traumatic experience,
Yeah, I don't know.
including brain development. But she says kids are incredibly resilient and can be taught the skills.
Well, then he says nemesis is a written word. You'd know that if you didn't go to that lame ass Brother Martin.
Hopefully there are no Brother Martin fans watching the YouTube leak.
He's a Dirk De La Salle, so it doesn't matter. He's a De La Salle girl.
NBC News Radio.
WODT WNOE FM HD2 New Orleans. Listen on the free iHeartRadio app. Search Sports 1280.
Of course, he's ripping Rummel today, and I'm like, you realize the head coach for De La Salle is a
Rummel grad, right?
No. Graduated the same year as me.
Kershaw has won Cy Young Awards and MVP. So. Now he has a shot to win the World Series. He and the Dodgers are headed there after closing out the NLCS and eliminating the Cubs.
It's the best feeling outside of getting married and having kids you can have. This is what we work so hard for. This is, you got to celebrate as hard as it is to play this game. And to get to go to the World Series, that's the second best thing you can do in this game other than winning it. So, yeah, we're going to enjoy it.
Kershaw on MLB Network after the win last night, so they await the winner of the American League Championship Series. Game 6 is tonight in Houston. Yankees lead the Astros 3-2. Justin Verlander on the hill for Houston. Luis Severino starting for New York.
Right over there.
The Tigers close to finalizing the contract.
Someone on the YouTube page.
Manager. And
which I'm glad I realized what this is now. Said Sater here, as in he's a Crusader. He's a brother of ours. And this guy writes, Corey better check himself.
Yeah, right. I like that dude. He's my new best friend, whoever he is.
Shout out to Luke.
The Martin Pride, baby. Woo!
Discussions. Download the Zip app today. It's Friday, October 20th. Alec Baldwin.
All right, guys, 4 minutes.
Streets in New York recently throwing his.
Anybody this hour?
No.
All right. Just Drew Brees.
Just Drew B. We might split it up because some of his bites are long, so we might do half one segment, half the other. Yeah.
All right, that's cool. All right, I'll be right back.
All right. Kitchen Shoppers Supermarket Sweep is coming back to TV. Are you going to tune in? I love this show, and 26% of people say that this was a show of their dreams. The large majority, though, say that the show needs to stay in the past. Answer all of life's opinion-based questions with just one swipe. Download Zip, the polling app that lets you tell the nation what you think. In the App Store, it's free and 100% anonymous.
It was like a blue Mardi Gras cup, and it might have been someone, but now it's...
Sensory sensitivity, repetitious behavior, lack of eye contact. You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Target is streamlining its stores to better handle the e-commerce boom. As part of a sweeping overhaul of its operations, the retailer plans to revamp more than 1,000 locations by the end of 2020. Part of the plan is to make smaller stores and cater the stores to local tastes. The company is also focused on expanding delivery options by using stores as distribution centers. A new restock program rolls out nationwide next year, letting customers have essentials like toothpaste delivered the next day. A report says those smartwatches designed for a child's safety could be having the opposite effect. Consumer protection company the Norwegian Consumer Council says hackers could take control of the apps and give them access to children's real-time location and personal details, and could also enable them to contact children directly without the parents' knowledge. The devices were also transmitting personal data to servers without any encryption in place. You can now give your car that entrepreneurial smell. The $7 Elon Musk air freshener smells quite leathery with notes of rocket fuel. Tech report, Larry Olson, NBC News Radio.
Oh, hey guys, just having some coffee here.
My hand's on fire.
I can't feel anything in my palm anymore, so
It is worse than a
I really
nightmare.
needed some jolt
It
today.
is hell.
I don't have
What
any
hell
more
would be like,
fingerprints
because
anymore.
every day is just misery.
And that plan decided to
Just
go
like
life
in Men
mode.
in Black.
I never thought I would get my
No
life
names
back.
and no
I never
fingers.
thought I would get myself back. And that's what Narconon did for me.
Call Narconon today at 877-959-0098. 877-959-0098.
A new study shows nearly half of all American kids have had at least one traumatic childhood experience. The study by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation is a real eye-opener. Martha Davis explains.
3% of 0 to 17 years old have experienced one adverse childhood experience.
What are we talking about?
Living with someone who is depressed or mentally ill.
All right. I got clarification from Corey. Apparently, he's listening on the stream, and so we got different spots on the stream than we do on air.
Traumatic
Right,
experiences
yeah.
can impact a child's health.
Yeah, because I've listened to it
including
through the
brain
stream, like on my
development. But she
TV at
says
home, and
kids
it's totally,
Yeah.
they got totally different spots.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
to bounce.
Well, it's weird when we sell packages. Like they actually, sometimes they'll be nice and throw in the streaming spots as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Honestly, I think nowadays almost streaming might get a little more bang for your buck.
Right,
Really.
yeah, so many people stream it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just think about the callers from Vegas, Sacramento, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You know they're hearing the stream commercials.
Yeah.
Disco song Staying Alive is the near perfect beat for hands-only CPR. If you see a teen or adult collapse from cardiac arrest,
Jeff must
you
have
only
fallen
need
in the
2
toilet.
steps to help save a life. Call 911.
I
push
imagine
hard
it
and
would be that
fast
hard.
in the center of the chest to the beat of the song.
Damn, sick burn.
Goes back and
burn.
saves lives. To learn more, go to
I said I thought you might have fallen in a toilet or
heart.org/hands-only
something.
CPR.
I did kind of.
And then I said,
longer than 1 point.
and then I said for you that would probably be easier than most.
Oh, look at listen to this guy.
Boom! Even Dave was like, "Ding!"
Not around. You guys ripping on me. Let's see how
Hey,
it
you
works.
did the
Let's see
same
how it
to me.
works.
Hey, you did the same thing to me yesterday, dog.
You guys ripped me at Morstead's grandparents on the video.
We did. We had fun with that. Truth hurts.
Dunc and Holder, hour number 2 on a Friday, October 20th. You missed hour number 1? Sports1280.com, NOLA.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube page. And talked some high school / college football recruiting with Jimmy Smith. Talked about the prep weekend with Jim Derry. Broke on Pelicans Warriors, 8:30 tip tonight at the Smoothie King Center. Of course, you can listen to that game on our sister station, 99.5 FM, WRNO. And now we're going to be switching gears. Saints-Packers, obviously a big game for both teams. One team's without their star quarterback. The other team is looking to keep the star as they're looking for the 4th win in a row with the Saints. And Jeff, you can, when you go in the locker room this week and you're talking to players, you can see that there is a sense of confidence within this Saints team, and yet B, also a sense of, okay, just because the Saints are 3-2, they know they can't just say, all right, well, right now, because first real success the Saints team has tasted in the last 4 years, and they know that even though there's no Aaron Rodgers, they've got to come out full blast, no holding back, especially on the defensive side of football. They got to keep this thing rolling.
Yeah, you know how when you go to the locker room on Wednesday, that's typically after Sean Payton has addressed the team with kind of the mission statement for the week. It's his message to the team that it's the first meeting with the team where they introduce the game plan. And typically the locker room reflects what Sean Payton has told them. And that's all we heard all week from the Saints veteran leaders, guys like Kenny Vaccaro, Cam Jordan, Breeze, of course, is, hey, we cannot overlook, we can't eat the cheese. I think some of the players had gas masks in the locker room because that's the new phrase now. You don't want to get gassed. Don't gas me up. I think they've got the right attitude. Now, can they pull it off? I mean, inevitably, something's going to go wrong. I mean, it happens. So far, this team has avoided really a lot of calamity because they haven't had a lot of turnovers. They won the game last week, committed 3 turnovers, and still won. That might be a first.
Yes, absolutely. Well, when you get 5 takeaways,
right,
you're in good shape.
But still, 3 turnovers and you still win the game. They're not going to be able to commit 3 turnovers up in Green Bay and win, I don't think. But the way the defense is playing, they're playing lights out. They're producing big plays, and I think right now they have to be confident that they can go up to Green Bay and get a win. Looks like it's going to be kind of dicey weather, guys. I mean, I was just looking. They're calling for a little rain, temperatures in the 50s. So it is going to feel a little bit like London.
Well, I think that's a good thing that the Saints have their complement of running backs with Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara, because the Saints haven't had to lean on Drew Brees, and that's a good thing. Like, I did a radio interview with the Packers, their flagship station up in Milwaukee, and I just had to keep harping on that Drew Brees, the fact that he's not having to throw for 350 yards a game is a major plus. It means and they're winning, means the run game is getting going, and B, they're creating short fields with takeaways, and you don't have to have these 90-plus yard drives and such, so it's obviously a good thing. But Drew Brees, of course, he spoke with the media earlier this week. Next couple of segments, we'll kind of break down some of the things he had to talk about. I know we will do our picks. What is it? Lock of the week, upset of the week, fantasy stud of the week. Can I just take anyone who played last night as a fantasy stud of the week and just go with that?
Yeah, no.
Why not? I do have a new poll that I just put up, by the way.
Oh, Jeff's got his new poll. He's back.
I'm now calling it the Dunc and Holder poll of the day, since I've been able to execute this now 4 days in a row.
Barely. You got yesterday's poll in with 2 minutes left in the show.
And that poll has produced 804 votes now.
It's working.
Okay,
it's working.
Saints still at 88% strong, but today this poll, I'm interested to see which game are you most excited about this weekend. Florida Tulane. You got a lot of options.
You do have a lot of options, and that's a good thing. At least there is some success on at least 3 of those teams, and then it's the home opener for the Pelicans. So yeah, I don't know. Let me see which one.
It'll be.
I'm gonna save my pick. Well, I'll give my pick later.
Clyde's already voted. I guarantee you.
Oh, he's trying to.
He's over there. LSU.
Whoever's doing the Dunc and Holder Twitter account, whoever that person is, I don't know what he's going to vote for, but it's going to be LSU Ole Miss.
I knew he would say that.
Why didn't he involve Nichols? You should have involved
because Nichols is on the bye this week, dude.
I should have put.
So way to keep up with it with your hyphen hat.
I want to do one at some point. What's your favorite local festival? And I think Shrimp and Petroleum will get at least one vote.
That's gonna get a write-in.
Shrimp and Petroleum will get a write-in.
And the Dunc and Holder Twitter account will have nothing to do with that. That's gonna be straight from my Twitter account.
There you go. But Drew Brees, of course, first turnovers he's had in the season were last week, and Drew Brees didn't look so sharp last week. And look, the Saints, they did not look sharp offensively, especially in the second half when they had 7 possessions, something crazy in the fourth quarter.
Right.
And they
punted on 6 of them.
Right, and they could not move the ball and kind of close this game out. But look, I think on third down last week they were 2 of 11.
2 of 12.
2 of 12. Yeah. So
unlike them, that's Sean Payton said the number one thing when he was asked what he would like to see this team improve on, third down efficiency on offense was number 1 on his list.
Well, honestly, defensively, they still need to improve on third downs there too. Look, they're the worst in the league at stopping on third down.
Getting off the field?
I think part of that, though, is the 2 bad weeks, and they're able to create takeaways, but still on third downs they're still struggling, and so that's one thing you gotta clean up on that side of the ball.
Well, Drew is 4th in the league in passing efficiency, so he's off to a good start. Even though he's not as prolific, his numbers aren't quite as high, he's still efficient. He's not throwing, as many picks. He's not throwing as many touchdown passes. But 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and one of them was a dicey call. Let's face it.
If it would have been called a catch when Michael Thomas would have stayed a catch.
Right.
Whatever of those would be on the field was going to stay put.
Sean Payton said this week, though, that they sent that tape of that play to the league office for interpretation because they felt like it was a tie goes to the receiver. And it'll be interesting to hear what they got back.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear that as well. But let's hear from Drew Brees. Got a few sound bites. Like I said, we'll sprinkle them in through the next couple of segments. But I brought up the third down efficiency on purpose because he spoke about that in the locker room earlier this week. So let's hear what Drew Brees had to say on the third down offense.
I think it's just some little details. I think it's getting into some better third down situations. I think we've been into an abnormal number of 3rd and long situations. I think that's due to penalties and some negative plays that probably we could have avoided. So there's that. Your percentages go way up when you're in manageable situations. And then it's just some little details that I think we got a pretty good beat on.
They are typically very good, typically in the top 5, sometimes top 2 in third down efficiency. So it's bizarre to see the Saints offense kind of take their foot off the pedal because they're up huge, and yet they became pretty inefficient on the offensive side of the football in the second half against Detroit. And Aaron Rodgers you can't afford to do that on the road in Green Bay. They're still a good team, and you can't afford to have a 2 of 12 day on third down. Just you're not going to win too many games that way.
No, I think Green Bay, they're playing better right now than, even though they lost last week, than Detroit coming in here. And that place, Herbie Teope's got a really good story this week. It'll run Sunday in the Times-Picayune and on NOLA.com about the mystique of Lambeau Field. And it's a real thing. And there's a lot of young players on this team, 1st and 2nd year players that have never played there. And they're going to walk into that place and see the Curly Lambeau, statue outside and see all that green and gold in the stands. And it's going to take them aback a little bit. And it'll be interesting to see how they react.
I don't get awed a lot, but when I went there last year, I don't get starstruck by many stadiums, locales, things like that, unless it's really stunning. To be in that stadium last year was probably one of the top 10 sports moments I've ever been in. And to think how loud it was, by the time the game started, it was packed fully. It was loud, completely loud, deafening with Wisconsin fans, LSU fans. It was an amazing experience. So I think you're absolutely right, Jeff. I think when those guys step foot in that stadium, it's going to be 70, 80,000 people on top of you, literally screaming at the top of their lungs, regardless of how cold it is, how wet it is, literally on top of you from the time the first whistle blows to the time the last whistle blows.
Yeah, and it's different with an LSU-Wisconsin crowd. You had a heavy LSU contingency. I'm sure Green Bay fans are not going to be selling Saints fans their tickets in the parking lot.
No.
I don't think that's going to be happening. No chance.
It was still a good crowd, though.
Yeah, absolutely. But look, Saints have won 3 in a row. Right now, statistically, some of the stats, I remember yesterday I rattled off a bunch of stats to where it's amazing how well the Saints have played since week 3. And they have been the best in the NFL in numerous categories. I'll just rattle them off again today. Look, their win-loss, of course, 3-0. It's tied for first. Their point differential has been plus 55. That's the best in the NFL. Their plus 6 turnover differential, tied for third in the NFL. Their sack differential, plus 11, best in the NFL. And then points per game allowed in that span, they're 6th. Yards per game allowed, they're 4th. Yards per play, 2nd. Yards per play allowed in a game, 7th as far as passing yards, and passer rating allowed, 2nd in the NFL. So it's pretty impressive, right?
Yeah, those are big time numbers. That's hard to deny, and it's indicative of how well the team is playing. We talked about it on the show yesterday. They have been playing winning football, even though they weren't winning early. They're playing smart, and they remind me a lot of that 2006 team. I say it over and over, but this is a gritty team, and they don't make a lot of mistakes. They don't beat themselves, and they are staying out of bad down and distance scenarios, except for I think they got into a little bit early on some long third down scenarios. But for the most part, the running game is a weapon, and they're going to need that on Sunday up at Lambeau. If the weather's bad, they're going to have to lean on that offensive line and the running game, and I'm sure they've got a lot of confidence that they can run the ball.
Yeah, and look, they're 3-2. It lends the question, are they turning a corner? Let's hear what Drew Brees had to say on that subject.
Well, I mean, listen, we're getting better. I think we've gotten better every week in certain ways. Obviously, we've got some momentum. We like the direction that we're going. We understand the things that have happened these last 3 wins that have allowed us to win. You know, and I think when you taste that success, the light bulb comes on a little bit, and you begin to realize, okay, when we do this, it gives us a great chance to win. When we do this hinders our chances of winning. So we're just becoming a smarter team.
Did you give us, for instance, like on one of those things that gives you a greater chance to win?
Well, when you take care of the football and when you get takeaways, that's just one example. You know, look at what our defense has been able to do in that regard over the last 3 weeks, and you know, offensively, I think we've done a pretty good job of it, with the exception of the second half of this Detroit game, and yet thankfully the defense had so many that it offset ours. But I think that's obviously the number one stat in football.
Let's take a break right here on the show. When we get back, we'll hear from more on Drew Brees, and maybe we'll talk some games as far as Saints Packers, and we will have our picks segment. And look, if you want to sneak in your phone calls, you can. 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved in the show here on Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder.
Was a woman on a mission here to drown him and forget him. Corey Johnson.
LSU coming back from the dead.
4-6.
And
okay,
you gotta give it to Ed Ogeron.
Clyde, you might know this.
I wasn't too keen on the hire.
Do you know
and
how?
I'm not gonna sit here and say, man, I'm sold
I had too
on
many.
him now,
I know Larry's
but
gonna roll his eyes. I had too many things on my desktop.
Oh yeah.
And I ended up like pushing some stuff off. I can't find it now. You know how to get
by
it?
Southern Glazers,
Like-
WGNO TV ABC, and NOLA 38, the CW. Saturday, November 11th at Audubon Aquarium Plaza from 3
There's
to
no
6.
way it would be
Limited
over to the
VIP
right or
and general
something.
admission on sale now at wineontheriver.NOLA.com. Proceeds
I wonder if
benefit
I
the
just
Louisiana
accidentally stuck it in
Hospitality
trash.
Foundation.
Should be some
Target is
folders.
streamlining
I
its
don't know where
stores
those
to better
folders
handle
are.
the e-commerce boom. As
Can
part
I
of
do
the
a
sweeping
search for, like,
overhaul
a
of its
folder?
operations, the
absolutely,
retailer
yes.
plans to
So,
revamp more than
NFL
1,000
sources.
locations by the end of 2020. Part of the plan is to make
gosh, you
smaller
deleted
that. Where are those
and
at?
cater the stores to
Just
local
pull it out
tastes.
here and stick
The
it on
company
my-
is also focused on expanding
It should
delivery
pop
options
up.
by using its stores as
iCloud
distribution
Drive.
Oh, it's
centers.
in your
A new
iCloud Drive,
restock
so you might
program
want
rolls
to-
out nationwide
so it's
next year,
probably
letting
where's
customers have essentials like toothpaste delivered
I
the
don't know.
next day.
I was having
A
trouble
report
with
says
my
those
iCloud.
smartwatches designed for a child's safety
It's in
could
the
be
cloud.
having the opposite effect. Consumer
Should I go
protection
to-
company Norwegian Consumer Council says hackers could take control of the apps and give them access to children's real-time location and personal details, and could also enable them to contact children directly without the parents' knowledge. The devices were also transmitting personal data to servers without any encryption in place. You can now give your car that entrepreneurial smell. The $7 Elon Musk air freshener smells quite leathery with notes of rocket fuel. Tech Report, Larry Olson, NBC News Radio.
The Home Depot has ladders. Lots and lots of ladders. And now through the end of November, select ladders come
bunch of
right
stuff,
to your
everything just
door
popped
with
back
free
up.
shipping from HomeDepot.com. Select from a 6-foot step ladder, an extension ladder for higher projects, or maybe a 22-foot adjustable multi-pin.
10 seconds.
I'm just
Step
like,
up to great savings on a
He always like looks at my desktop and goes, look at all that. Look at all those windows you got open.
yeah, well, in his browser, he's got like 70 windows open.
Oh God, no, no.
I'm surprised your computer doesn't like explode.
It's all good. Control. Well, thanks, Clyde.
It's Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Red Solo Cup. How many times have you drank out of those, Jeff?
Many times.
Good old red Solo cups.
There'll be a lot of that in Ox Park this weekend.
There'll be a lot of red Solo cups out at Lambeau Field.
No
and
doubt.
In the Grove in Oxford, Mississippi this week.
And don't forget, actually, Ullman Fest is coming
time.
up tomorrow, Saturday, at Ullman Stadium. Should be a great time. Yeah, absolutely.
I would hope those are green cups.
Yeah, you'd hope they're green cups.
Or olive green cups.
Because South Florida, they have some green in
They
them,
do,
too.
green and gold.
So just have red cups. There you go. Drew Brees, of course, ready for this matchup. And you know how Drew Brees is always extremely positive? I kind of get the vibe from him, the way he was talking earlier in the week, that he doesn't want to overinflate where this team is right now. That he's just trying to stay even keel, and because he's probably even has to stop himself, because the last time he has been on a team that's been above 500 was in 2013. So it's been a long time coming for someone who is usually used to success in like every aspect of his life. So I think he even knows, I don't want to get too ahead of myself here, because they know they still got a long season, but he's got to calm himself down. And hey, I think it's just human nature with where he is right now in his career and where this team is.
And I think they've downplayed that, but let's face it, that was a big deal to finally get a winning record, get over the hump. They've done it. If they hadn't done it so many times before and lost, it might be one thing. But as you documented, I mean, it happened numerous times. And, look, just switching gears a little bit, but talking about the mystique of Lambeau, we were talking about that. I started wondering how many players have even played in Lambeau Field. Now, I'm discounting guys like A.J. Klein, Ted Ginn Jr., who probably did play at some point in their careers, but the only players, the last time the Saints played there was 2012, which wasn't that long ago. But just to give you an indication of how there's so much turnover in the NFL, there's only 5 players on the roster that were around back then: Cam Jordan, Mark Ingram, Tom Morstead, Drew Brees, and Zach Strief. And Zach, of course, is out. So you only have 4 Saints players that played in that game back then. So it just shows you that a lot of guys are going to be playing their first game, discounting the veterans that have come on board. So it's going to be interesting to see how they react to it, and if they can continue this momentum, because if they can win this one, and then you come back home with Chicago, and who's after Chicago? Tampa.
Tampa comes to the Dome, and then at Buffalo.
Yes.
So yeah,
you could go on a run.
You could go on a run. I think absolutely, and even like the national media, I feel like has gotten on board that the Saints could get on a run. But you gotta go up there and win this game, and that's actually. Let's hear what Drew Brees had to say about avoiding the trap of thinking about how Aaron Rodgers will not be across the field from them.
Well, I know for me and the offense, we're not playing against their offense. We're playing against their defense, and that is a stout defense. They've done a great job taking the ball away this year. They've done a great job in the run. They've got guys getting healthy in the secondary. So we're going to get their best effort. I know that, and I think our guys defensively are preparing for basically the same offense that's been run there with Rodgers. They've got plenty of playmakers. I remember playing up there, maybe 2 preseasons ago, and seeing Brett Hundley, throw a bunch of touchdowns and run all over the place. So I think our guys know what those guys are capable of, and this will be a hard-fought football game. They've got a lot to play for. We have a lot to play for, so we're going to have to go out and play our best.
Let's hear what Drew Brees had to say about the Packers' defense.
Well, I mean, they rush the passer very well.
And we got Cordell in Minnesota.
Okay.
The edge rushers do a great job. They're so they give you a wide array of defensive personnel. Whether it's just their traditional base defense with their 3-4 structure, or you got your nickel package, you got your dime packages, you got your penny packages where you just got DBs all over the field. They're all very versatile. They can cover. They can play, deep, middle of the field. They have them playing at linebacker level. I mean, they do a lot of different things with their guys. So I'm sure they'll have a plan for us, and that's just something we'll have to adjust to as the game goes on.
Let's hit the phone lines. 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved. Cordell in Minnesota. Cordell, what's up, buddy? Thanks for calling the show.
Hey, man, how y'all doing today?
Great. Doing great.
Good. Hey, first of all, let me start. I just want to I believe in giving people their flowers while they live, you know. So first of all, I want to tell you guys, first, you guys do an excellent job. I really, really appreciate you guys. I really appreciate you guys being on the radio talking, you know, New Orleans sports, you know what I mean? Because, you know, it's forever. I can't turn the TV on or turn any radio station on across the country and find anybody talking about my Saints. So I want to tell y'all thank you for that, first of all.
All right.
Thank you.
Clyde, did you just send Cordell a 20?
I didn't. I swear.
Think you did.
This is completely of his own volition. I did not send him anything.
You sent him a $20 bill.
But thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Cordell, it was all my idea. It's all me.
From the bottom of my heart.
Thanks, buddy.
I mean that from the bottom of my heart.
Hey, we appreciate you.
This is where I want to comment about the Saints. I feel them. You know, I understand, you know, that they don't want to get a big head or anything like that. But at the same time, I don't want them to start playing tight or, you know what I'm saying? I want them to go out there and have some swagger about themselves and show and have some confidence that yes, they have turned the corner. I don't want them to go out there and, you know, tight and just worried about, man, we don't want to lose this week. Hey, you're not going to win all of the games, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I get, you know, that they don't want to take Green Bay for granted because Aaron Rodgers is not playing. So that's my comment, man. I just don't want them to be tight, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Hey, Cordell. Yep. Appreciate the call and appreciate the kind words. And thanks for being a regular listener since day one. And yeah, I think that's the delicate balance here that this team has got to figure out because they haven't been in this position since 2013, where they're winning and having a swagger, and they've got to balance playing tight or being too loose, and that's going to be a challenge. And I think the fact that even though there's no Aaron Rodgers, I think the fact that you are going to Green Bay and you're playing at Lambeau Field, that in and of itself, that challenge may force you to know, look, we got to go out and play well, or we're going to get beat no matter who's a quarterback for the Packers.
Well, the way Sean Payton and Drew Brees, I mean, their MO is to always be aggressive. I mean, they're not going to play tight. They're going to go in there and throw everything they can at the Packers, try and get control of that game, take the crowd out of it. And sometimes that blows up on them, but it's not for trying not to lose. That's one thing Sean Payton does not do. He plays aggressively and lets the chips fall where they may. That's a cliche, but that's the way the Saints have always played. And look, they did it last week, didn't they? Is my memory, and I know I'm getting old.
You are.
But did they try a flea flicker last week?
Yeah, they hit on it.
They did?
Yeah, because they converted, it was, 4th and 1?
It was after the fullback option pitch, and then the next play they did a flea flicker and threw it to Brandon Coleman, and he was wide open, and it was a
yeah, there were so many wild plays. I've forgotten all the craziness in that game. But, yeah, we were talking that they might try a little trickery, and they did. Wouldn't surprise me if they did some more this week.
No, it wouldn't surprise me either. So why don't we take a break right here on the show, and when we get back, we will hear a couple more thoughts from Drew Brees about Jari Evans, about how well this rookie class has been helping this team overall, and about how this team can stay successful and to keep this thing rolling. What are the keys they need to do to have that? And then we'll have our pick segment as well, and then that'll be a day for we'll be done. Then it'll be Jeff.
Most of us.
Jeff will have pole dancing Friday. All for him.
Poll results coming in.
Whoa! What did you just say?
Pole dancing Friday. Like he's dancing with his pole right here, you know, his poles.
After we just came out with a story about the track.
What track?
Let's go to break, guys. Let's go to break, guys.
Let's get out of here.
Good times.
Pull the ripcord.
Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. We're Dunc and Holder.
Oh, my God. Your forecast on Sports 1280.
Nice.
That was wonderful. That was great.
Brought to you by Take 5 Oil.
It's what I do. Hey, from the Fox 8 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Shelby Latino,
Warriors
and temperatures will climb into the mid-80s today with a more muggy feel to the air. We'll notice partly cloudy skies and a 20% chance for a stray shower or two. Tonight, temperatures will fall into the upper 60s on the North Shore and low to mid-70s on the South Shore. Then tomorrow, we'll see an increased chance for some showers around, especially during the late morning and into the afternoon. From the Fox 8 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Shelby Latino. Have a great day.
Take 5 Oil Change, making oil changes easy for over 30 years. Take 5 locations open early, stay open late, and are also open on Sundays. Experience the oil change.
I can't stop looking at that gif of that girl at the LSU game.
It's great. I'm telling you, it's mesmerizing. It's mesmerizing.
The Dodgers are on their way to the Fall Classic for the first time.
She's going to have that with her for the rest of her life.
After crushing the Cubs.
They did a story on her. I was mad. They did a story on her, and they didn't credit me with finding her first. I was so mad.
Finder's fee?
Yeah, I was like so mad. At least, I mean, we could do like an oral history on it. It'd have been a great oral history.
Up 3-2. The Yankees have a chance to meet the Dodgers there and close out their series with the Astros in Game 6 tonight from Houston. The Raiders pull out a wild 31-30 win against the Chiefs at the Oakland Coliseum in the final play of Thursday Night Football. Oakland ends a 4-game losing streak. Raiders running back Jalen Richard.
The way the NFL game is, it's a roller coaster, up and down, momentum, up and down, and you just got to be able to fight through the adversity.
Amari Cooper dominant for the Silver and Black, 11 catches, 210 yards, and 2 touchdowns. NBA Carmelo Anthony and his old Knicks squad 105-84 in Oklahoma City. Lakers drubbed by the Clippers 108-92 in Lonzo Ball's debut. That's Sports. Jake Corwin, NBC News Radio.
He's played at 91.9% of
If you need a payday loan fast, try LendUp.com. Apply in minutes on your phone or computer, and you could have cash in your account fast. LendUp.com, the better payday loan. LendUp.com, subject to availability in your state.
Never
Is a
comes
licensed
off
credit
the
services organization, not a direct
And
lender.
he's
in Ohio
always
and Texas.
on the field. I mean,
Hi, I'm Lieutenant
that's
Governor
another
Bill
thing that I
Young-Gaston.
always respected about him.
He's played 101 straight
It's our
games.
way of
Yeah,
life.
he's
And
never
that
hurt.
means being outdoors.
Or he
Join
plays
the
through
nearly
it.
2
Yeah,
million people
that's a good
who
way to put
camp,
it.
Bike, paddle,
sure
and
he-
hike
I know-
our state
I know
parks
he's been
last
banged
year.
up a
As
little.
we invite you to do the same, every corner of Louisiana has something to offer. From the world-class fishing at
Hey, it's your boy, Clyde.
to exploring the ancient mounds of Poverty Point.
No
World Heritage.
news.
So fill up your car right here in our home, Louisiana.
She thinks my tractor's sexy.
Whether you ride the wave or like to growl, we're talking your teams. Sports 1280 New Orleans.
Country Fried Friday here on Dunk and Holder. Let's hear some more from Drew Brees. And Jeff, we talked about this, how this might be something that comes into the advantage of the Packers, that one Jari Evans is now a starting lineman up there in Green Bay. But look, the rest of the offensive line up in Green Bay, they've been banged up. I know both of their tackles have been on the injury report. And it's not like they're just having a banged up Aaron Rodgers who is out, but they're not a crystal clean, healthy team. Their injury report is mega long this week, and the Saints they've only had Teron Armstead and Willie Snead on there. Both are limited, and I expect both will play. So despite the guys who are out, say Zach Strief or on IR, the Saints are pretty healthy, and the Packers are kind of banged up. But Jari Evans I think he's the only offensive lineman that's played every game, I'd like to say. Maybe I'm making that up, but I know he's been the reliable piece to the puzzle up in Green Bay so far.
Yeah, and it sounds like yesterday or the day before we talked to Aaron Nagler, he said he's been really a big signing for them because he's solidified the right side of the line, and they've had a merry-go-round at the tackle position. I think at one point they had not started the same tackle tandem in consecutive games all season long. And that's what made Aaron Rodgers so important to them, was he has mobility, the ability he has great pocket presence to feel the rush. And a lot like Drew Brees, he's able to overcome pressure because of his instincts, his knowledge of the offensive system, and his mobility. I don't know if Brett Hundley's going to have that. So I think some of these plays that normally Aaron Rodgers might get out of, I'm not sure Brett Hundley will have that ability. It's awful. It's not asking an awful lot for a young guy like that to try and make some of these plays that Aaron Rodgers made.
Yeah, but maybe Jari Evans can help figure some things out on the defensive front as far as what they're facing, because he at least knows the personnel in front of him. I mean, he knows Tyler Davison and Sheldon Rankins and Cam Jordan specifically, because he's been playing. Like, I wrote a column. Some people think I'm nuts. I said Cam Jordan's the best overall defensive end in the NFL right now.
I don't think you're nuts. I think that's spot on.
Well, I mean, you're wrong, but you're just not wrong about this.
What am I wrong about?
Well, you're wrong about a lot of things. You want me to go find the tape?
Well, you are nuts. We do know that.
Yeah, we know that. Yes.
So, but
you're absolutely spot on with this one.
Well, chicken on a stick still sucks. I
Here
can
we
just
go.
tell you that.
Here we go.
I was with friends last night, and that conversation came up, and unanimously everybody endorsed chicken on a stick and thinks there should be more food on sticks.
What a surprise!
Like gumbo. That was your genius idea yesterday.
I did not say that. I said
Gumbo
you can't
on a
have
stick.
Gumbo on a stick. But we need more food items on sticks. That was pretty much universally endorsed.
Yeah, something like that. So anyway,
Back
let's
to
hear
Drew Brees.
what Drew Brees had to say about his old buddy Jari Evans.
Yeah. Jari's a stud. Jari's a stud. Love Jari. Every guy in this locker room does. I mean, he was such a big part of our success over the last, 11 years, and wish him nothing but the best. It'll be funny to see him in a Green Bay uniform after being here his whole career, but he's the best.
You can't argue with the way the Saints went about it at guard. You had to move on. They paid, I guess, market price for Larry Warford. Larry Warford has been very good with the Saints so far. And Jari Evans, I thought he deserved another shot somewhere else. So I think it's good that he was able to get on with a team like the Packers, who they've got a shot. Well, they had a shot now. Without Aaron Rodgers, they might not have a shot. But he at least went to a place where he thought they would be in contention to get deep in the playoffs and maybe get to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I've seen some reports saying that it's possible Aaron Rodgers could come back and play this year. They haven't ruled him out. Now, I don't know what that means. Maybe if they make the playoffs, he could sneak in. But I would think he would be out for the year with a broken collarbone.
Well, you would think, but
they haven't said that.
Well, I mean, you don't think a team like that would probably try their hand with saying he's not going to come back, and then at some point, probably in week 16, if they do make the playoffs, oh, he's back healthy, or coach speak of, hey, say nothing, and then let everybody speculate, and then no one knows.
Have they officially placed him on IR? I assume they have.
I don't think
to free up a roster spot, right?
I'm not sure. I got to look it up. I'm
just saying. I looked up a number of stories about him, and nothing says it's for sure season ending.
Speaking of stories, while Larry looks that up, I came across an ESPN story in my feed from Matt Bowen of ESPN, and it's titled "The Backup QB Blueprint: How the Packers Can Win with Brett Hundley." And I won't go through the whole thing, but I'll make sure to share it on our Twitter account. But it goes through basically a few main tenets. One being the first 24 hours. The next thing being sell Hundley as quote unquote the guy. Then the next one is massage the game plan to fit Hundley's ability. So, and then the last one is supporting Hundley for the stretch run. So obviously, now the idea is talking about you kind of have to move on from Aaron Rodgers for now, depending on how long he's out, to how can you make Brett Hundley successful within the system. And I think you heard Drew Brees talk about that a little bit in terms of how they still have playmakers at a lot of different skill sets. And it's not so much about who's the guy that's pulling the trigger. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers is without a doubt one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, but they still have the weapons to be successful. You just have to make sure that you put the guy that is now the signal caller, the main signal caller, in a position to succeed going forward.
Yeah, they've got all kinds of receivers. I mean, they bring in receivers. It's amazing the production they get out of the receiving core, and this young rookie running back, Aaron Jones, has been a revelation. He looks terrific.
Well, he's the latest revelation because Ty Montgomery was a wide receiver they stuck at running back, and he became an effective weapon immediately. So it's not like they don't know how to do things on offense. It's like Mike McCarthy and Sean Payton. You can fault them for things, whatever. They know offense, and they know how to try to get the best out of the players that they have. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Yeah, no, I think they're very similar in offensive philosophy, Mike and Sean. Mike, coming from Pittsburgh, was really basically he was a former tight end offensive line guy, and has developed into his reputation as being a quarterback guru, and really develops quarterbacks. Has done it throughout his whole career, all the way back to being here in New Orleans. And I think the plug-and-play aspect is going to be in effect here, because I think Brett Hundley's probably been waiting for this opportunity, and now it's right in front of him. It's a chance for him to do kind of what Jimmy Garoppolo did in his little interim stint for Tom Brady. And the guy's, I'm sure, well prepared.
Yeah, if you're Saints fans, you just hope Brett Hundley turns the light bulb on next week, and hopefully it doesn't happen this week. But look, the Saints rolling coming into this game. Let's hear what Drew Brees had to say on the success for this team to keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, I mean, I think for any team that's starting the year, especially the way that we started. I mean, we started 0-2. You know, we lose at Minnesota, we lose at home against New England. Those are two really good football teams that were playoff caliber teams, and I felt like there were just some little things that happened in those games that could have changed the complexion of those games. And so we felt like we were much closer than maybe others gave us credit for, and yet those were losses, you know. And you just need some success to validate your process, to validate your preparation, and we put together a great plan. We knew that there was going to be a defining, you know, period of time there, going on the road Carolina and then on to London and then coming back home against Detroit, who we haven't played very well against, and now going on the road to Green Bay. That, I mean, this was a stretch here that could define us in a way, and I think we've certainly made the most of the last 3 weeks, and we'd like to keep that momentum going this week.
Now, of course, you look all over the field, young players everywhere, and specifically the rookie class. I mean, you cannot discount how much of an impact, instant impact, Marshawn Lattimore, Alvin Kamara, Ryan Ramczyk, even Trey Hendrickson's getting involved. Look, and when he was healthy, Alex Anzalone was playing early right away. Let's hear what Drew Brees had to say on how well this rookie class is contributing.
Well, you need young guys to step up and make plays for you, and also I think for us as a team, you know that each year you're going to have pieces of the puzzle that are still maybe a bit undetermined, and as the season goes along, you begin to see what you have, you know, and the light bulb comes on for guys at different times. Maybe it's just a moment that happens throughout the course of a game that's like, all right, you know, that was a defining moment for that player, where all of a sudden, you know, their confidence was built, or you saw something that, you know, gave you an even better vision for what that player could be for you, you know, whether it's offense or defense. And I think we've had certainly some guys on both sides of the ball that, you know, the light bulbs come on a little bit, or, you know, the confidence level is raised, and now here we are with the ability to do a little bit more.
I think they certainly have the ability to do a little bit more. And you just look at the maturation process of, look, Alvin Kamara, for example. He was going to be part of a 3 running back combo. Now he's part of a 2 running back combo. And you could just see, even starting in the Miami game, that was really when he started looking really silky smooth within this offense. And now it's, you could put him in any situation, and it seems like he's got the utmost confidence to go get it done no matter what they're asking him to do.
I don't think it's a stretch to say this is the best rookie class they've had since 2006. I mean, I know it's still early. They've got a lot of football left to play, but we haven't seen, in terms of impact, any class come in and just not skip a beat. I mean, all the way up and down the draft class. It's really amazing. Sean Payton was praising Ryan Ramczyk this week and his ability to bounce around the left side to right side. Kamara looks like a future star. Lattimore playing at one of the highest levels of any cornerback, not just rookie cornerbacks, any cornerback in the league. And Marcus Williams is playing a lot of snaps, making a lot of plays. They hit on lots, and we've criticized Jeff Ireland and Mickey Loomis and the whole front office over the years for some bad drafts, but this one looks like a home run.
Yeah, I absolutely. And look, even last year's doesn't look.
It's not bad. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Not bad. I think
Rankins has been very quiet this year.
Yeah, well, Cam Jordan's been awesome, so maybe that's been part of it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Alex Okafor's played well this year too.
Yeah, no, he's come on lately, and but Rankins is a guy that I thought we'd see more pass rush out of. I think he's doing okay against the run, but I've noticed they've been also subbing in Onyemata a lot more on early downs for Rankins, so maybe they're trying to lighten the load for the young guy. But if he comes on, just think if he starts producing. And
right.
And look, we were saying the same thing a couple weeks ago. Okafor had been kind of quiet, and all of a sudden, you know, he blows up. That could happen any day with Rankins or Onyemata or somebody like that.
Yeah, according to Football Outsiders, Rankins has played 73.3% of the defensive snaps. Okafor has played 76.9% of the snaps, and then I made sure to put in my column. I went and added it afterwards. After it was initially published, I added it probably 15 minutes later about how Cam Jordan, 91.9% of the snaps. It is second among defensive linemen, only to Trey Flowers in New England. To me, The fact that he's out there every down, could be a monster at any given point in time, and they move him around. To me, that's why he's playing as the best defensive end overall this year right now.
Cannot take for granted the availability and durability of a player. And I know Saints fans for so many years having to listen to the Donnell LRB continuing IR disabled list, or whatever you want to call it, his injury pattern, Jairus Byrd, whether he was in or out. I mean, these guys were just constantly injured. And then you have a player like Cam Jordan who plays every Sunday. Kenneth Vaccaro pretty much plays almost every week. Those guys, I don't think you can underestimate how important that is.
No, absolutely not. Let's take one final break right here on the show. We will do our pick segment, Lock of the Week, Upset of the Week, and what have we called it? The Fantasy Stud of the Week? Is that what we're doing?
Well, Herbie Teope didn't like that because he's adamantly against fantasy football.
But obviously not against fantasy sci-fi books and TV shows.
He definitely
is
that genre of fantasy. He is all in, and then some. You know, him and his Jabba Fett T-shirt. I'm sure he's got, right.
Hacksaw Herbie
Teope. But so we'll talk about that. Even though I'm never mind, because I'm going to make fun of myself because people don't want to hear about your fantasy football team. I'll just say this: when I'm starting Alex Smith over Drew Brees, look, that sounds crazy.
But Alex Smith's the number one quarterback in the league right now.
I know.
That's also true.
I know. He was awesome last night.
And we also have poll results to go over because the poll of the day.
Oh, I thought we were going to forget about that. We haven't.
Hot and heavy.
We'll come back here. One final segment here, Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. We're Dunc and Holder.
It's Free Movie Friday thanks to Adam Tickets. Text quarter to
Polls.
Adam1.
Do you all have your picks? Do you have your lock, your upset, and your fantasy? Okay.
Standard data and
scanning through. Well,
look at Larry's.
Well, I'm scanning through Derry's column.
It does not suck.
Where's yours?
What are you talking about?
Where's your column?
You are wasting.
Picks column.
Okay, maybe
Is that up?
I don't know. I don't see it.
Shit, I posted it this morning.
All right, we got a minute and a half.
Okay.
Is it really not up?
It's a short break.
Twists and turns that define his life. Objectified Mark Cuban this Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Last thing I did, I thought it was up.
I was like looking for it.
No, I didn't get it up till this morning. I posted
Running low
this
on the
morning
stuff
from
you
the coffee
need.
shop.
Time for a Target
I thought I
run.
posted this
We're
morning
here
from the
for
coffee
all the
shop.
big moments and the little ones too, like comfort food for falling temps. Warm up with Campbell's soup for $1.25.
Oh, jeez, it got deleted.
Or how about tailgating? Touchdown!
Is it not even in the system?
This week, Dixie and Bounty paper plates and napkins are just $2.99 each. Plus, we've lowered prices on hundreds of Market Pantry and Up and Up items, like baking essentials, vitamins, and more. Target run and done.
I got
Pricing
the word
may vary,
file.
restrictions may apply.
Sports 1280 urges you to make a donation to help
Here's
out
the,
the family
do you
of
need the
Marcus
capsules?
McNeil. The NOPD
Week
officer
7
shot
capsules.
and killed
They
in the
actually
line of
jazz
duty
those up.
during
You
the
seen
early
them?
morning
They do
hours
yeah, I
of
did.
October
They're all
13th.
colored.
Yeah,
Officer McNeil
sometimes
was
I
behind
try
the
to take
wife
some
and two
tidbits
small
out of there.
children.
Yeah, there's some
You
good
can
stuff
help by
sometimes.
donating
Sometimes
what
good,
you can
sometimes
to the
it's total
Marcus
dud.
McNeil Benefit
Right.
Fund at any Whitney Bank location.
Who's the official
That's
this
the
week? I always
Marcus
like to look
McNeil
at that.
Benefit Fund at any Whitney Bank.
yeah.
The
A
referee,
message
Jeff
from Sports
Triplett.
1280
Jeez.
communities helping to make a difference in New Orleans.
Jerome
All right,
Boger.
15 seconds.
Could you be my...
All right, we'll go through our picks here.
All right, I got my lock of the week.
Hi, neighbor.
Mr. Rogers.
There's some easy locks this week.
Hoping
Yep.
you would too. Friendship. Pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life.
Who's your
at
fantasy
values.com.
stud going to be?
Yeah, you can find us where the party's at. This is how we roll. Dunk and Holder now. Josh Innes next at noon on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Country Fried Friday. I do leave here humming and like singing some of these songs sometimes.
That makes one of us.
What?
Who sings
you,
this
you,
song?
you know all the songs
I
already,
do know.
Clive.
I do know all the songs. It's
So
true.
what do you mean there's one of
Florida
us?
Georgia line.
Florida
Jeff.
Georgia
That's right.
line. Yes.
Thank you,
yes.
buddy.
Yes. I mean.
I knew it was somebody like that.
I only know the Florida Alabama line, and that's Floribama, where they throw mullets and stuff. That's all I know.
Oh boy.
That's all I got.
Oh,
and they sell bushwhackers, so those are delicious treats. And don't they hang underwear up on the ceiling? Don't they
What's
do that?
bushwhackers?
It's basically a white Russian.
Oh, Jeff.
It's basically a white
Jeff.
Russian, like
Wait,
frozen drink.
They hang underwear from the ceiling? I did that.
Among other things, yes.
My freshman year in
Undergarments. I'll just say that because it's not.
It's not necessarily. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is too much information, TMI. But
Here we go. Jeff
Jeff
story time.
My freshman year in college at Eastern Kentucky
This ought to be
University,
good.
went on a panty raid, early in my tenure
like Revenge of the Nerds style.
When was the last time you heard that?
We scored many undergarments, and we actually hung them from the ceiling of our dorm room in the shape of a heart.
Do you know what would happen if you did that now?
No, what?
You'd be in prison easily, I'm sure.
I met my girlfriend.
Prison's strong, dude.
I met my girlfriend through this panty raid. Dated her my entire freshman year, Tanya Arnett.
I bet Jeff was a charmer. I bet he was a charmer.
I'm sure Tanya's so thrilled that she's been lumped into this show, into this story.
Well, what was funny was she was unwittingly involved in the panty raid because her roommate wrote her name and phone number on the undergarments and threw them out. Tanya wasn't even there.
I'd be willing to bet Jeff was like, hey, we're going on a panty raid. By the way, I also like various wines and cheeses.
Jeff is like the Bluto of that time.
Bluto.
With this jumping.
That was D-Day.
You were D-Day? Never found again? That's what happened to D-Day?
All right, let's move on to picks. It's a little segue there.
Into that.
I can't help it. It was just, I heard undergarments from ceiling. I thought, wow, somebody else did that.
Flashbacks.
Somebody else had that bad idea.
Wow.
Okay, let's get into the NFL weekend. This is week 7, right? Are we week 7?
Week 7.
Week 7, lock of the week. How was your lock of the week last week?
My lock of the week went down in complete flames because I picked the Falcons to beat Smokin' Jay Cutler. That didn't work. Now, my upset of the week did happen. I picked the Bears to beat the Ravens, and that happened. And then my fantasy guru from last week was Deshaun Watson. I don't think he had the highest scores, but he did throw for 3 touchdowns, and they beat up on Cleveland, right? So.
And you weren't here for
I was not here. I had Friday off, so I completely missed the boat, but it's fine.
I think my prediction for my fantasy stud of the week was spot on. I think Ezekiel Elliott had a big game, if I remember correctly. Am I wrong about that?
I don't know.
Locks of the week. So, Clyde, what's your lock game of the week for all of our listeners out there and potentially people that may want to wager? I don't know.
All right, my absolutely stone cold, can't go wrong, please do not listen to me, I'm really terrible at this, lock of the week is Patriots hosting the Falcons, NBC, Sunday night. The Falcons have absolutely no shot because they are a terrible football team. I'm going with the Patriots.
Terrible football team.
Terrible football team. I'm calling it now.
They're not terrible.
When the Saints win the NFC South, we're going to be like, hey, man, remember we were talking about the Falcons? Yeah, no one. Patriots all the way.
All right, what's upset of the week again? Is it against the spread, or are you picking them straight up upset of the week?
No, you got to pick a team that's it has to be. They're underdogs. You have to win the game.
Why are you trying to get the line, Larry?
So it's heads up.
I will say this about your Falcons pick: they have lost 5 consecutive times to the Patriots. They have not beaten New England since 1998.
Well, here's the good news. Hopefully, again in this game, they won't blow a 25-3 lead.
Hey, who knows?
28-3
If they blow the lead, it means they lose again. My lock of the week are the Tennessee Titans at Cleveland. Lock of the week.
That's a lock for sure. And
easy.
I've got the Seahawks coming across the coast. They had a bye week last week. They'll be rested. That's not going to hurt them against the Giants. I think that front 7 will eat up the Giants. So, all right, let's move on to, because we don't have much time now, upset of the week. Clyde?
I'm actually going to go with the game we just talked about. The Giants hosting the Seahawks, 3:25 p.m. Totally, like, no one's going to see it coming. I'm telling you right now.
I wish YouTube would see
right now.
Me and Jeff's faces right now. We're just like, what are you talking about?
I think the YouTube people can't see your faces right now. That's the whole point of live streaming video. But, yeah, I am calling it Giants upset the Seahawks at home in MetLife. Book it.
My upset of the week, L.A. Chargers are going to beat Denver.
I like that.
They're due, right?
I like that. They've won 2 in a row, but they are 0-3 at the StubHub Center. They haven't won a game.
Denver's only a 1-point favorite. I'm going with the Chargers.
I like that game. I think the Chargers are playing well. My upset's going to be the Bears. Your upset last week. I think they're going to beat the Panthers.
That was my next one. I was going to say the Bears.
They're very similar teams. I think the Bears will get that one done. And then quickly, fantasy football stud of the week, Clyde.
Leonard Fournette, Jacksonville is taking on the Colts. I like Leonard Fournette. I like what he's been doing.
Even though he's a little hurt?
He may have survived an injury scare. It looks like he might be okay for this game. I'm still going with Leonard Fournette.
I like that pick.
I'm going with my lock of the week, and it's going to be Marcus Mariota is going to be the fantasy stud of the week. Anybody who plays Cleveland is stud of the week potential.
Material.
When he plays, they're a completely different team.
Yes,
they average over 30 points a game when he's at quarterback. My pick's going to be a guy that's off to a slow start in fantasy football, Julio Jones, going against the Patriots. You know, the Patriots are last in the league in total defense.
Wow.
And Julio Jones has yet to score a touchdown. It's crazy. I think they're going to give him the ball, and he's going to have a big game, but I don't know. I disagree. I think Falcons are a desperate team. I think they'll play that game close.
All right, Saints pick. Who you got? Saints pick over the Saints against the Packers, noon kickoff. Who you got?
Saints 27, Packers 21.
I'm going Saints 24, Packers 21. Jeff, I know you've picked the Packers. What's the score?
I picked it 26-24. The Saints, every game has been decided by double figures, one way or the other. I think they're finally going to get a nail-biter.
It's fair.
All right.
It's a big weekend, guys. Pelicans tonight, LSU tomorrow, Tulane tomorrow, Saints on Sunday.
Oh, and the poll, real quick.
Hurry!
181 votes. Which game are you most excited about this weekend? Saints, Packers leads the way 69%. 19% LSU Ole Miss, 9% Warriors Pelicans, only 3% South Florida Tulane.
I want to thank Jim Derry and Jimmy Smith at NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. If you missed any of the show, sports1280.com, NOLA.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube page. So, yep. Happening weekend. We'll be all over it here at NOLA.com, all over the map. So check out all of our coverage. So great show, great week of shows. We will be back here on Monday, myself and Jim Derry. So come on back. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder.
See you.
Hang out with a rough and rowdy crowd.
Habitat for
Thanks,
Humanity.
Dave.
Thank you, bro.
Thanks, Dave.
Y'all have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend, dude.
All right, talk to y'all later.
Bye, bud.
The roadside is where hanging a door opens a world of opportunity. We're turning
Jeff's candy rate story might be the top 3 stories I've heard on the radio.
where a simple plan can unlock a brighter future. You see, Habitat for Humanity builds
Tanya
houses
Arnett, man.
and so much more.
Hey, Tanya Arnett, if you're out there, please.
I remember calling her. I was bold enough to call her.
Did you know 22 Americans die each day waiting for organ transplants, most of them for kidneys? The good news is that matching donors